All right. Happy Sunday, May 25th. It's Memorial Day weekend. COVID seems to have relaxed a little bit. Things are starting to open up. The economies are starting to get rolling again, but we still have roughly one quarter where those sectors were closed. So sorry about that. Had a little bit of feedback. Have the other computer up for the watch list. So if you guys heard that feedback, sorry about that. Super crazy busy day, so doing a little bit later. Got to have some adult time today, which was great. A little break from the kiddos. Much needed. Gorgeous weather up here in Canada. You can see wearing a sleeveless shirt. It was crazy because just May 2nd, we had snow up here. So it usually goes from winter to summer like that. And it's a little microclimate. Hi, Arky. How are you doing today? All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. I do want to tell you guys that there are two sales going on from two of my favorite softwares. TrendSpider is having a 35% off sale, and Trade Ideas as well. The links are down below in the comment section or in the description section, so you guys can check those out. Always great when you're able to capture on a deal for trading platform software. All right, let me go ahead and switch it over to the shot of the, there we go. We've got the stock market up, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this over as well. This is the watch list for Sunday, so you guys can see it. I'll build the list on TradingView, which is that charting software that we have right there. And let me just make this a bit smaller. Does not want to adjust the size, right? Gotta love when the software doesn't want to work with you, right? Come on, shrink your size. There we go, that's what I wanted. All right, so we've got that over here. We'll make this a little bit smaller. Beautiful, right there, so it fits. All right, let's go to the Sunday list. Let's check out last week. We had some great ones on last week. JD definitely ran up above and then dropped down below. So had a great trade on both sides. AL, hey Jay, thank you for joining me. Happy Sunday to you as well. So AL, we had Boeing, that was on my list as well this week. Delta, that was a great mover again this week. Dominion Energy had a pretty good run too. All right, let's go ahead and we will build the list for this week. So if you guys have questions on stocks, you're welcome to put them up in the chat area, and I will definitely get to them once I get through the list. So no worries about that. And nice. I forgot to say hello in Portuguese. I know obrigado. That's what I know for my Portuguese, but thank you, Alan. That's awesome. Glad to hear you're coming in from Brazil. There's crazy stuff going on with the Brazil bank. So I will show you that one. Might be interesting to watch for you, especially in Brazil. Alan, are you trading the US stock markets, or are you trading the Brazil markets? Let's see, let's put Microsoft down here, because I have that on the list down there. ALC, HOLI, JD, TLRD, OSL, Fossil, Leaf, Tup, and Silica. I will add AMD at the bottom. Let's see, it looks like I missed one here. Offload 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, it's all good. Taylor, Leaf. Fossil didn't go on there. Let's put that on there. All right, and that's going to go right here. And I'm going to add AMD at the bottom for you, Danny. All right, so I'm going to pull this away. We'll go full screen so you guys can see the entire chart there. All right, so we'll start off with a SPY, and I have AMD at the bottom. Awesome, Alan. Yes, definitely put your time in studying there's going to be some great videos coming out this week about paper trading. I finally got it done, had some free time to get that one done this weekend. So definitely check that one out on paper trading, and we've got one on brokers too. Okay, so we've got the SPY here. Now this is a big thing. If you guys didn't see my live stream on Friday that I did with Ticker Talker, check it out. I will maybe put that link right up above. I'm not sure which side it'll go, but up above, and you guys can check that out. Really interesting stuff in the SPY, talking about repeating patterns for holiday weeks. So we'll see if that happens again. I've got this descending volume, right here, that I was drawing for you guys, because right now, look, we had this massive volume up as we were dropping, high volume here at the bottom, right? And then the volume sort of dropped off. A little bit more high volume, and this higher volume right here came in, look, when we were testing this 294 level. So we've gone up, we tested it, it acted as resistance, came back down. This 281.50 area acted as support. Again, resistance, support down here, came back all the way down to this trend line. And now we came back up, broke the resistance. However, we have this dotted line that is acting as, and the EMAs right here, acting as resistance, right? So we went up, came up here, we shot up. It's kind of a, oh no, I don't want that. Kind of a bear trap, right, that we have going on. So they took it down. All the shorts got in. They're like, yes, finally, this is the bottom. The market is going down, right? So they went ahead and they shorted. And then, boom, what did they do, those shorts? They squeezed them, right? They squeezed them up one day, down the next, up the next day, down, up. And now it's just, we can't break at this point. We have to break this moving average strong, right? Every time that it's gone up here, it's sold off, sold off, sold off, right? So looking this week to see if it's going to go ahead and continue up, test the 200 simple moving average up here, or are we going to go back down and we're going to reject this 90 simple moving average and continue on to the downside, right? This is our 20 simple moving average right here, this orange line. I do have my EMAs turned off, but I can easily turn those back on and go ahead and see. Actually, let's go ahead and turn them back on, because I'm used to seeing everything and analyzing with it, right? So we bounced off of the 4 EMA, closed above it 2 days in a row. So it was a retracement, bounce, retracement, and are we going to continue to the upside or go to the downside? Right now we have descending volume as we're getting higher. Not as many people are buying into it. I'm not going to use the stochastics for a reason to get into a trade. However, I am looking at it as, look at this. We are at the cusp of potentially rolling over. You know, we are in that overbought territory above 80. So it could go ahead and continue to the downside here. We could have a rollover that is coming. And that big confirmation for me in the market is going to be when we break down below, really above this purple dotted line. Like I said, I drew that blue dotted trend line from back earlier from the bounce. And you can see it's held as support, right? Let me go ahead and show where... no, you know what? It went ahead and it readjusted. It was this one that I drew from this trend line. This one, I don't think, I'm going to have to rearrange it, redraw it, because I had it originally over here. All good. So ignore this blue trend line for now. All right, let's look at the Qs. You know what though? It could be just the opposite VI, because the lower volume right now, we could end up with them finishing their final consolidation, and anytime that we see a big drop in the market, we always see a newer high, right? So with the SPY, we just saw a newer high break out from there, and then it could continue down for a little mini correction, or it could go all the way down. Okay. And there are also some other signs, V, that we saw on some prints in the dark pool. If you don't already know, I do trade around the dark pool as well. So if you want to learn more about that, come over to the training pit because we do teach people all about trading around the dark pool there. All right, so QQQ, we are rocking, right? Let's draw a little trend line here from the high up here to the high over here. So we would want to see a breakout of that trend for me, right? I would like to see a breakout. We did break out from here to here, right? We broke out not necessarily with a whole lot of confirmed volume. We are still above the moving averages, however, so I would need to see that break down further. We do have, let me get rid of these two lines here. We do have a bit of a gap to the downside. If we do break below 226.50, we're going to have a gap fill potential 220, 223.50, 40 area, which also happens to be the 15 EMA right here. All right, let's look at the Russell. So the Russell, the weakest typically, and now we're coming up. I just put this one on because I started to see that this was performing on different charts, and it's the 85 EMA. 85 EMA or SMA? SMA, I believe. 85 SMA. And I started looking back at like weekly charts, and I thought, you know what, it's actually performing. So I'm going to throw this on my chart and see if I like that as well for later on. So sure enough, it's on here, and we are testing it right now. 135.06. The high of Friday was 135.05. So it's kind of cool if that actually starts performing, and that happens to be the top right there. You can see we broke above the 50 simple moving average, came and tested it again, tested it. So that has been holding as support for now. And we could go ahead and break down. If we break down lower, below 120, 130 area, we're going to have that big gap fill to the bottom down to 125. So there is some potential for what could happen this week. Again, descending volume there. And on the Qs, again, a bit of descending volume, higher volume on the sell-off day, right? Here we had higher volume buying, bouncing off of the 20 SMA, but here we have a bit higher volume on that sell-off day. Maybe it's people taking profits before going forward into the holiday weekend. We'll see. All right, so disclaimer, I did have my Series 7 back in 2000. It is no longer current, so please do your own due diligence and risk management. There are varying degrees of risk in all trading instruments. I know past performance is indicative of future performance. All right, so we've got ELF on the list today. ELF has 37 million in the float, right? So it is lower float, and it was 40% short volume. The ones that really have higher short volume going into Monday are going to be SPLK, which has 157 million in the float, and NHC right here with 67%. So with ELF, earnings report came out, and we had 2 spike up days. Now this one could continue to the upside here, and we could go ahead and try to fill up to 18, even more because it is lower float. However, we could fill that gap to the downside as well. So this one is a great one, in my opinion, to watch going into Monday. So let's go ahead and put the 15-minute chart up. And you can see it went ahead and tested 17 after hours. So let's go ahead. And you know what, VI, I'm going to disagree with you on that news. You want to know why? Because the prints always come first. The news is always reporting after the fact. So we see the prints of where the really big guys want to go before they drop or before they rip the market. So I'm not a believer that the news drives the market, but more that the manipulators and the big prints drive the market. Okay, so with ELF, Alan, I do have some penny stocks on my list today, but I trade more higher price stocks that tend to have some prints with them or good volume, not so much the low floats that can be very risky. When you get below $5, you have to have a larger position size, and to me that can be more risky. So I look for a stock that's going to have higher volume. It's going to have that ability to have a larger range throughout the day so that position can be smaller and thus the risk is smaller, in my opinion. Okay? All right, so 16, 69, and 17 for our support and resistance. So let's pull it back on the yearly chart as well. You can see, hey, no wonder it stopped here. It had a bit of resistance here in the past. Resistance, resistance. So, and it's a round number, $17. Again, this does have 37 million. It is lower float, so it could really run in the market on Monday if it gets squeezed with people buying into it Monday morning. All right. Not low float, but Lowe's had earnings last week. A lot of people, it's coming into renovation season, right? You can see we had that massive gap up, and then it pulled back to the moving averages here, right? So you can see how the computers really respect moving averages, and I didn't really trade so much off of moving averages when I was first beginning. And then I learned, you know, hey, yeah, you could look at this, 200 simple moving average bounce. Hey, again, 200 simple moving average, 50 simple moving average bounce. All right, you know, looking at that for that reason, I have them on my chart. The computers and the algorithms are written off of those moving averages. They're written off of other potential target points. And so looking at it for that reason, I have them all on my chart. People say it's really messy, but I like it because it helps to profit. All right, so we are at a resistance point in the past. Notice anything about the time frame? This was January, just before we had that pullback on the market. Little correction. What week was this? Martin Luther King week. Ding, ding. We are coming into Memorial Day week, another holiday week. Do you know what week this was? President's Day. Boom, down we went. Is it going to be a repeat? Are we going to see on Thursday of next week? Boom. I don't know. We'll see. Just a coincidence that happened in the past too. All right, so we have support 121, resistance 122.70. Okay, LB. So LB brands, right? They were on my list this week. If you guys don't already know, I do a watch list every day that you can trade if you'd like. It's available on my website and also available on Ticker Talker. CJ Trade is my website if you guys don't already know it. Okay, so we've got our support of 1460. I see a bit of a W here. Anybody else see this? Right? So are we going to break out and test all these moving averages up here at the 1674 range? The market will decide, but let's be prepared, right? LB 1470 to the downside and 1510 for potential resistance to break out. You can see back here, it wouldn't be surprising if they brought it back over here that we had this big consolidation area and we had massive, massive volume right here. So is that massive volume all buying volume? Again, it could pull back and then go back to the upside. So be prepared either way. We could have a pullback down to the $14 mark and then surge back up again. Okay, SPLK, 64% short volume. Could you imagine why? Super extended on earnings, right? We had earnings here, pulled back. Oh, look, bounced off that moving average. Oops, I need to get this one. All right, so let's go up here. I'd like to see a break above that 186, that whole dollar mark for people's brains. And right here, you can see right here at 182, you can see 181.90. Resistance, resistance, boom, flip to be support. All right, so 181.90 and 186.08. I'll put it 186.10. Again, this has 157 million in the float. Amazing, had a breakout, right? Let's go back to our all-time highs, all-time high for the stock, clear skies ahead. So there could be some shorts. Let's go really quickly over here, here. I'm going to look back in the past to see how much it was shorted. So this is a site, shortvolumes.com, that I do use for stocks being shorted. And you can see over the average over the last 5 days, it was 60% short volume, 58% for 10 days, 57%. So over the last 50 days, it has been highly shorted. So much like Tesla is pretty high numbers. This could surge based on the short volume. There was 3 million shares that were short overnight from Friday going into Tuesday. So that could be very interesting. So definitely one to watch. All right, NHC. Let me shut that down. NHC, we don't need it on the weekly chart. We want the daily here. You can see it's in an upward motion, pulled back. It looks a bit like an upside down head and shoulders setup. So as long as we're staying above that $63 mark, we could go ahead and break the neckline upside down of 66, and it could continue on up to test that 68. So for our 15-minute chart, go ahead and draw support down here at 64.20 area, right there. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a resistance. Every time that it surged above up here, it seemed to sell off. So we want to see 65.50. Really, 65.50, 64.20, and 65.50. And we'll pull it back on the yearly chart so you guys can see that, right? So when it's coming here, it does have higher range throughout the day because it is lower float, 12.2 million. So looking for that, they just announced a dividend. Let's see what day, what's the ex-dividend date? June 30th to be payable on August 3rd. So that's not an issue for trading it right now. All right, going forward, Microsoft. You see Microsoft traded pretty much flat. I've been studying this little puppy and looks like a bit of a rounded top here to me. All the averages are starting to curl over. Microsoft and Apple, the two largest of the indexes. So looking for those, really studying those and watching those to see what's going to happen because they have the largest share percentage in the indexes. All right, so I would look for Microsoft to break above 184.20 or break down below 182.60. All right, let's pull it back on the yearly chart. I did draw this trend line here off of these two candlesticks. But here, we'll even put it right here. This one and this one. Out of here. And you can see it's respecting that trend line. So if we're able to have that 4 and 8 curl over, we might very well see that the market is going to pull back as well, right? So we've got a test here, couldn't break above, sellers off, selling, sold off, came up above, next day immediately dropped down, and now we're almost below that moving average right here with a further test down. Now for further confirmation, you see I've got these yellow lines right here. I would like to see below 176 overall. I would like to see below that, and then I would feel confident that the market is really going to turn downturn. If you look at this chart, it's very similar to the SPY as well. You can see it came up, pulled back, up, back, up, back, up, back, and now potential downside, right? All right, AFG. So on our daily chart, this has been in a downward trend. Every time it comes and hits this 20 simple moving average, it's selling off. We did have higher than normal volume down here at May 15th. So watching that day, for now we're above all of that volume. So it would be bullish to me, but we're butting up against this 20 simple moving average. So could be an interesting week for AFG. So let's go ahead and draw our lines here. Let's draw our support line down here. Acted as support, 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 support. So I want to see the $59 mark broken, if it's going to curl to the downside. And to the upside, I'm going to want to see that 60, 70 right up here. I'm going to put it up just a little bit higher. I want to see 60, 70 broken to the upside, right? So when we look back, all right, we've got 60. I'm going to actually move it up to 61 because we've got the 20 simple moving average there. 60, 98, close enough. 61. S&P chart's looking the same. Yes, for sure. That's right. Okay, next one on the potential short list. It's going to be ALC. So Alcon Medical Supplies. When we look back at the chart, hey, came up. This is looking actually very similar to the SPY as well when you look at this chart, right? So if I was just looking at the daily, I would want to say, hey, I need it to break above that 62.20, and it's got to break down below here, 60.40. When we see it right here on the daily chart as well, you can see there's a little bit of a gap from 60.90 down. So let's tighten it a little bit more if we're looking at it for day trading, right? I'd want to see that $62 mark is broken to the upside and 60.80 to the downside. Put it right down here. Yeah, I know, dumb things you see. It was Microsoft really looks like, but Microsoft and Apple are the two largest holdings, so it makes sense that the charts align. 60.80 and 62. All right, for ALC, right? So look at how those levels have acted in the past. So if we break out, hey, look, potential test on up here to 63.50, break down. First we test that 60.50 level, then come on down and test the 60, then potentially back down here 59, and then a nice gap fill down to the 200 simple moving average at 57. All right, next potential short, HOLI. Short volumes, Damien, shortvolumes.com. For the short, Apple puts a space in it. It's all together though. All right, so holy, you can see it's coming into a double bottom area, right? When you look at it right here. So we'll definitely want to see that 1240 area to the bottom break down, right? I'm going to put it even a little lower. I want to see 1240 hold as support because some people might have their stops just below that 1243. So I'd want to see 1240. And then to the upside, right here is my resistance that I see. 13.14, 13.15, we'll call it. And when we put it on the daily, you can see, hey, here we had a high volume doji, came back up off of the 20, and look at that, 85 right there. And then it sold off again, higher than normal volume. So we have a bit of an H setup that's being created here, right? Ooh, boom. Could it go down? And then we might come back down to test that 950 low. So let's take that off. All right. So our support of 1240 and our resistance of 1320. Final potential short on my list, JD. So it was on last week as well because we had earnings. And this week it looks like it's curled back. It has dropped back from that nice rally off of earnings, and it broke down below that $50 mark again. We are hitting the 15 EMA. It looks like potential down to 48 right here if it does continue to the downside, and then on down to test that 20 simple moving average at 47.30. So 49.60 for support, and we also have 50.49 or 50.50 for the resistance. All right. Now let's get into the potential longs here, or potential swings, I should say, which I tend to do more to the bullish side. So we've got tailored brands. When you look back, it had this big gap right here back in March of 2014. And after that earnings announcement, it just sort of rolled down the hill, right? So we've got this area, if it was a W, that it would need to break 214. We've had 3 massive volume days. We are coming into earnings, but we might have a bit of a move if it's able to go ahead and break above the 50 simple moving average at 143. We might see a move to test on up to 214 or even potentially up to 240 area. So keeping that one on watch. Next potential one is going to be Fossil, right? So Fossil, if it could hold that 270 range, and again, every time it has been selling off, this could end up being another short, or it could end up selling, going higher and squeezing the shorts. So we shall see. But I would like to see it really break above and hold that 340, 350 range, and then come on up and test the 4. If it tests the 4, it could go on up, test the simple moving averages right here, and then on up to the 5 area. So potential one to watch. We'll see. People are really shopping. I don't know how their online presence is acting now, but if they do have that online presence, it could be a great thing for them in this COVID time. Next potential long, we have Leaf here. I'm not sure, it says internet technology area. It has gone ahead and broken above that 50 simple moving average. If you look back here, after earnings, it did the same thing. 50 simple moving average, and look at where we went. We came up to this moving average and then pulled back to the 50, and it sort of rode it for the next 2 months. So looking to see, hey, is history going to repeat itself here? Came up, not even all the way back to the 50 simple moving average, but maybe we're going to go up and scream up here and head up an extra $1 before it sells off and comes back down to test it. But we have higher than normal volume. We had earnings. It seems like the market liked the earnings report, and it's still in that upward motion, and we're close low risk here to the moving averages. I will add PEN on for you, Arky. Okay, and 2 that I've had on my list, you guys have probably heard me talk about them. Tupperware. So Tupperware has slowly been moving up, right? It's been holding those moving averages, and it was so heavily oversold. And it did break out here, had a nice trend break, right? So it broke that trend line and it screamed higher. And so next resistance is really that 340, which happens to be right up there near that moving average, 85 simple moving average. And then we can even put it back here, the high right over here. So 350 range is going to be a real test on this one. And then we'll have this gap fill potential up to 540 area. Another potential longer term swing, silica. Silica is used a lot in oil. So as oil took a major drop, so did silica. And so now we're starting to see oil come back, so is silica, right? It's on its way up. It's riding the moving averages up, and maybe a move up here to 289. It does have the rest of this gap to potentially fill up to 327. So could have that nice move. It's slower moving, doesn't move too fast. However, the stochastics right here look like it's very oversold at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised. We might come up here, test, and pull back a little bit. All right, AMD. Let's see. I'm going to go back to all these questions. All right. I'll add Nat, Jamie. Okay, so AMD. For now, AMD, we had this resistance area. I'm just going to take this line up here. So we had this area, came up, and it sold off right immediately, right? It couldn't hold above this area. Nice bearish turn down, right? Came down again, and it hasn't been able to hold above 57.50. Every time we get there, sell off, sell off, sell off, sell off. Not able to reach it, sell off. Boom, back down to the moving averages. Riding, this is the 30 right here, riding the 30 on up. So at the moment, it's in that bullish trend. And I would look for breakout of that 57.50 for confirmation for the next move up, because it hasn't sold off. I mean, it hasn't been able to break it strong over the past, 3 months. Granted, this is also the top. Another coincidence. This is the top of AMD back in February, came down from here. This is the top in April, and it hasn't been able to break it, and it could be potentially rolling over. We shall see. It might be testing this moving average from the bottom, only to be curling down like we start to see that Microsoft is in the process of doing. Not confirmed yet, but it looks like it could be setting up for that, in which case the market could be setting up for that rollover, but it's not there yet. Okay, PEN National Gaming. All right, so let's look at this. I haven't drawn these lines in a long time, I can tell you that, but it seems like they seem to be respecting it, right? So here's our support, our resistance flipped to be support here. Again, it was support, 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 and we have our resistance up here. It was not able to break above that 30.50 mark. So let's pull it to back, our key, and see. So gaming could be great. I'm not sure how many people they're allowed to have in. However, it did open. Look at this higher volume as well, right? So that volume is coming in, and the moving averages are right there. It might pull back as well to, I wouldn't be surprised. You might see a pullback of $6 before it could go to the upside. Or it could just ride that pink line all the way up, right? Or you might have a pullback down to 27.80 area. And then it might continue to the upside. But right now it closed high, so it might continue to move up. Let's see. I don't know anything about the company, but right now for the chart, maybe a pullback and then a continuation to the upside. You have seen all of these. It had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up days, 7 days, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up days. So wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a pullback on it. All right. Nordic Tankers. All right, this is looking bearish to me, right? We're below all of the moving averages. We have just come to the the 50 simple moving average. Here's our 200 down here. And it did just have a dividend that it just issued out. So it closed lower after the dividend. So I would want to see if going long. I wouldn't necessarily want to go long right here because it flipped to be more bearish right here. And it also pulled back a bit after earnings, right? So earnings, it had a sell-off day here, came back to the averages and selling off again. So it's a bit, actually, let's stretch it out right here, Jamie, and you see, it could go down potentially. If it were to break that 50, then potentially a test on down to 412, and then you've got all these right here that might get in the way. So it might come down to that 4 area, bounce a little bit, and then continue to the downside. All right. You guys have any other questions you'd like me to look at, or stock charts you'd like me to look at? Other than that, if there's nothing that you guys are putting up right at the moment, I wish you a happy Memorial Day for everyone in the States. Enjoy that extra day off. Enjoy time with friends and family. We are finally able to have outdoor barbecues up here, respecting social distancing, which is awesome. We are able to engage with people in real life instead of virtually. So I hope you guys are all safe and sound and have an amazing day off tomorrow. And I will see you on Friday at Ticker Talker TV Live, 12:45. Mondays and Fridays, usually for Ticker Talker TV, right here on the YouTube channel as well, but not this Monday because of the holiday. All right, have a great weekend. Great rest of the weekend. Bye.